Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 358. The lesson today is the difference between medication and medicine. This is one that comes up a lot when I'm covering articles that have to do with medicine or medication. Sometimes a student will raise their hand and say, "What's the difference between medication and medicine?" And to be honest, there is some crossover. But in this video, I'll try to show you where we're more likely to use one than the other, and in some cases where you would probably only use one and not the other. All right, so let's look at the note here. Medication is most often used to refer to drugs that are prescribed by a doctor. So when you go to the doctor's office, he usually prescribes you some medication. And could you say medicine here? Maybe, but medicate is this word is used is like in the treating of your illness, and the doctor he is getting these medicines to deal with your illness. So medication is probably a little more suitable in this sense. So ones that are needed to be taken on a regular basis, often in set doses. Yeah. So a lot of prescriptions would probably more likely you would use medication, especially in a more formal sense. Okay, good. Medication is usually dispensed in limited amounts and for shorter periods. Often a new doctor's visit is required to get more. Yes. So we're not as likely to use the word medication for, when you just buy over-the-counter drugs. You don't usually say, you're going to get some over-the-counter medication. We usually say over-the-counter medicine. All right, let's continue here. Medicine is the most common word that is used for substances taken to treat an illness. So here's where this crossover, especially with the average person. If they're taking pills or tablets, they very often will just call it medicine. Of course, it can also refer to prescribed drugs and pharmaceuticals. So this is where there is crossover, where an average person might be able to use either one, but a regular person uses the word medicine more. The doctor uses the word medication more. But if you're taking the medicine regularly, like I said, more in set doses, and you're taking it kind of often, you might really start to refer to it as your medication. Okay, let's continue here. Okay, drugs, pharmaceuticals, but it's not limited to that. Many dictionaries often emphasize medicine can also refer to liquids as well, especially cough medicine. Yeah, we don't usually hear people say cough medication. Cough medicine is the more common one. So when it comes to liquids, you might be a little more likely to use the word medicine, and the pills and the tablets, you might be able to, you'd probably be a little more likely with medication. But again, you could use medicine in that sense as well. But probably not medication for the liquids. It can also be used to refer to some natural or herbal types of medicine. Yeah, this is another one. We never say herbal medication or natural medication. We will always use the word medicine. Okay. We also use the term medicine with holistic medicine, allopathic and homeopathic medicine. So very often these are not the prescribed drugs. So in this case, we're still able to use the word medicine, but we're probably not using medication. Again, remember, medication is probably more often directly from the doctor and pharmaceuticals. Let's continue. It is also important to note we use the word medicate as a verb, meaning to treat medically with or without drugs. So, all right, this is a little unusual. We don't usually have the verb. Medicine is usually not a verb. I did find some dictionaries that had it, but if they had it, it must be a really old, obsolete use. I never hear anybody say to medicine somebody, or I'm going to medicine myself. That would be really weird. We don't hear that. So medicate kind of covers both, whether you're going to be using the word medicine or medication. Because we don't, in our modern times, we don't really use medicine as a verb. Hardly ever. I don't think I've ever heard it used. Let's continue. So, as a verb, meaning, yeah, so we can also say self-medicate. Yeah, self-medicate meaning to give oneself medicine without a doctor's supervision. Yeah, if you learn about it and you do it yourself, you figure you don't need the doctor, and hopefully it's working, you might be able to self-medicate yourself, even though you may not be taking the pharmaceuticals that you would need a prescription for. So the verb medicate covers that. To give oneself, all right, so you cannot say self-medicine. Yeah, nobody self-medicines themselves, but you could self-medicate yourself. Okay, let's continue. Medicine can also refer to the study and practice of preventing illness. You do not say that you study medication. Yeah, so if somebody goes to study medicine, they don't study medication. Maybe you could study pharmaceuticals, but you don't usually study medication. Medication is, what is prescribed by the doctor. So that's another clear difference. All right, and let's just cover a few examples here. Example number 1, I take 3 doses of medication every day. Yeah, so especially when you're talking about doses, you might be a little more likely to use the word medication. I take 3 doses of medicine every day. You might get away with it, but medication feels more suitable here. I bought some over-the-counter medicine for my cold. Again, we don't usually say over-the-counter medication. We say over-the-counter medicine. Okay, number 3 here. That cough medicine really helps to suppress my coughing. Yeah, again, we don't usually say cough medication. We usually say cough medicine. Okay, and the last one here. My medication is running out. I need to make a doctor's appointment. Yeah, so again, when you're referring to the drugs that you're taking that's prescribed by a doctor, you're taking on a regular basis, these are the situations where you're a little more likely to use the word medication instead of medicine. Okay, again, I hope you got it. You do have to realize there is some crossover, but I hope with this video you got a little bit of a better feel when you would use medicine, when you would use medication, and a few of those instances where you would only use one and not the other. Anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it's clear. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.